We compete today. I see some gas on the edge. Get that mindset to put your shoulder on somebody.
Dig, drop, you're finished.
Hey, first down. This is weird, kid. Worse than that, right?
Put on my homer cap real quick for you. The Jets are going 12-5, getting a first round bye. Home field for at least one game in the playoffs this year. What do you think of that? What do you think of it? That's what I'm saying. 12-5. We're going, guys. 12-5. 12-5, first round bye, home field playoff game. Guys, it's going to be great. Are you kidding me? We were 2-14 last year. We have a whole roster full of kids. I got a first-time rookie head coach, rookie offensive coordinator. We don't know what these guys are going to do. We have a quarterback. He's never played an NFL game. Mekhi Becton can't stay healthy. I'm telling you, we're going 12-5. I'm telling you, you're out of your friggin' mind. Well, good morning, everyone. Look at this. The time zone mashing of this particular show it's exceptional. It's exceptional. I want you guys to know that this is what I look like when I wake up. I wake up just like this, Jeremy. That's how it goes. So good morning, everybody, or good afternoon to our friends in Europe. This is our attempt as United States content creators to extend an olive branch and give you guys something a bit more realistic to chew on. I am GreenBean, and I am delighted to be sitting next to, figuratively, my good friend Jeremy Cravat, way out there in California. How you doing this afternoon/morning? Good night.
I'm doing good. My alarm worked, so the day got off to a good start. Had my coffee, so things are working. Things are working.
That's interesting, man. It's like it's 9:00 a.m. over there. It is now 10:00 a.m. where I am. I am in Virginia, where a lot of our European the colonists came from the British island, and they came over here, and a lot of them settled right here in Virginia. I'm about 15 minutes from Thomas Jefferson's house, James Monroe's house. I'm about 25-30 minutes from James Madison's house. I'm an hour and a half from George Washington's house. It's all here. But we have, what time? It's 3 in the afternoon in the United Kingdom. Is that accurate? Did you do the math?
That's what Phil told me, because we're not up to the 6 hours ahead. They're only 5 hours ahead, apparently. And then maybe
we thought it was 6 that you and
when
I
we fall back, because I always go the fall. When we fall back an hour, then we'll be 6.
Oh, so they don't do daylight savings and all that? That's just a strictly American idiocy thing?
I think it's just an American idiocy thing. I think it has to do with something with farmers or something. Like for
Farmers,
something to do with the farm. That's why that exists, to extend the days and and whatever. So I think it has to do with farmers.
So not only do we have we're one of 2 countries in the world that use inches and all that and feet instead of metric, but we also are the only country that drags its citizens through that fall back, spring ahead thing. Oh my God!
They try to get rid of it in some places.
Arizona.
California had a proposition.
Arizona, I was in Arizona a few months ago, and they call it Arizona time. They're like, I don't know. It depends on where you are, Arizona time, because they literally don't change it. They're like, nope, we're not doing this. Yeah. And I loved it. I was very, very, very happy about it. So let's do this. I'm gonna acknowledge something now to our European friends and Australia and Malaysia, and you see all the flags we have on our thumbnail. I tried to use as many as I remembered stopping in our shows. So I know we have Malaysia, we have Germany, we have Ireland, Scotland, the UK, on and on and on. So, but the thing is that we are in the United States, and today just so happens to be a commemorative day. It's called September 11th. So September 11th over here. And it just so happens to be the 20th anniversary. So interestingly, as I looked around this morning, for just ways to acknowledge it. And I'll tell you guys, today's going to be the first year that we sit down with our kids and really explain to them what happened. They know a little bit, but coming from the area, I mean, my brother-in-law is a New York City fireman. He was there for 2 days. You know what I mean? He lost a lot of friends. I lost a friend over there. So it's just one of those things where we've chosen not to kind of give them early in life. So today's that day. But I found a New York Jets piece that they put together with Joe Namath, the only quarterback in the Hall of Fame with more interceptions than touchdowns. Joe Namath is narrating a brief September 11th commemorative piece here. So I'm going to play that to start it. Do you have anything to say before I start this one, Jeremy?
No, I think we'll play it first, and then we can, we'll just reflect on it a little bit after you play it.
Okay. All right. Let me get this set up here. Oops. So if anybody has anything that they want to share, let's just watch this. I think it's about 1.5 minutes. It's nothing too crazy or anything. All right, hold on. And so we'll show this to you guys, and then we'll move right into some Jets talk. But again, it's really important for us that we acknowledge what today is. It's the 20th anniversary of just a terrible happening, and the Jets put something together for us. So let's take a look, and we'll be back with you in just a moment.
"20 years ago, our world changed forever. A sunny morning became one of our darkest days. When there was nothing we could say, we did all we could to search for answers and meaning, to somehow find our way.
It's interesting, that it happened to be Joe Namath. So I appreciate everybody for being here today, and hopefully, you spend some time today remembering what really happened there. I mean, the world is a different place. Let me get this off this thing.
Hold on. We did lose the audio after about the first 8 to 10 seconds of it.
Oh, really? Why didn't you say something?
We were chatting. Yeah, we're all saying something. I texted you. We're doing everything we could.
Oh, really? That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it was like 10 seconds. We were 10 seconds in, and then it was just like the sound went off.
I was looking at it. All I saw was Salmon Jet saying your mic is thudding, and my mic was off. So I said, that's Jeremy. So, all right. Well, I'm sorry about that. That's what the hell is going on here? Okay. So sorry about that. But either way, guys, that's on NewYorkJets.com. And Joe Namath narrates. You saw the video. It's just a brief thing with what happened that day and how sports kind of came back and did their best to help. Yeah. So Phil, it's on the Jets video page. So anyway, again, my hearts are with everybody today. This day means a lot to me. I mean, I was very close there. I was running a like a freight department for AT&T, and we panicked and shut all the door. Like, it was, everybody panicked, and I watched it like so many of it, other people did. And it was just such an impactful day. And the fact that it's 20 years later, it's just crazy. So, you got anything to say, Jeremy?
Yeah. It was definitely a crazy day. I was actually living in California at the time, and I found out my phone rang, and it was actually my brother, who's in the chat right now, telling me, "Are you sitting down?" or whatever. This is, I'm not joking around or exaggerating, and kind of told me both towers are on fire right now. Planes have crashed into this, and I ran downstairs. And we lost a good friend. I lost a good friend that day, and I made it back to New York in December before the holiday, and went to the site, and man, it was chilling even a few months later. Like, I'll never forget that feeling. And it's we can't do a show and we can't talk about the Jets until we acknowledge,
right,
that day.
We did a tailgate. Well, I was a part of, and you guys see a guy, Matthias Simon. He's in a lot of the chats. He used to run a Jets forum called the Greenhouse. And he and I put together this tailgate of all the guys. We had guys from Alabama and Florida and all over the place. And we all came together, and we went to a Jets game that weekend. He, being from New York but living in Florida, this man we called Herminator at the time, he brought his son and he took him to the top of the Trade Center just 2 days before that happened. You know what I mean? Like, so he was so spooked. Like, I just brought my son up there, and mere hours, 48 hours later, all that happened. So it was just one of those, it's a very powerful moment, man. And again, sorry about the video. I tried to mute myself. It looks like I muted the vid. So, that's the gray bearditis. That's my thing. I do okay, technically, I think. But when I'm put on the spot, I always drop the ball. That's just the way it goes, Jeremy. So let's take this. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Joseph Schwert is here. Phil Adams from the UK is here. Neil Foster. We got Lee Cravat. That is your brother. Rich Ritter. Rusty Spooner's here. Ryan McCabe. Salmon 718. Salmon Jets haters here. Postman is here. And just a quick note, Postman, John Post started his own live stream as well. I believe it's called Adrenaline Sports TV. And I stopped in there the other day. They were doing something. I watched a little bit of that. And I got to say, I didn't know you were that old, John Post. I thought you were like, I had a 21-year-old kid in my brain. Good looking fella, right around my age. But it's funny when we get to actually see you guys. We talk, and then we see, we're like, oh my God, look at that. But Adrenaline Sports TV, go over there and check him out. Mr. Magix is here. Jay Cole, John Amarella, our good friend, and so many others. We're all in here, and I'm happy to do it. So let's start with what you guys ended with on the Frankie from Flatbush channel. Jeremy and Frankie have a show called Chaos and Calm, or Calm and Chaos.
Calm meets chaos.
Calm meets chaos. Last night, Frankie was the chaos, unexpectedly.
Definitely was.
He was on fire last night. That guy was wound up. Frankie was not having it. He was not buying whatever anyone was selling last night.
He was a hater, man. He was hater yesterday.
He was hater.
And he wasn't hate. It was not Hater Ali. Let's not get confused. He was hater, as in Jets hater.
Yeah, and it's really funny because you don't expect that from Frankie. But the thing that we were talking about at the very end, and then we're going to get into some predictions and stuff for the game tomorrow. The Jets filled out their practice squad, and I want to point something out. You guys had a good time with the name of the final person on our practice squad. His name is Ross Pierschbacher. But I want to just tell everybody, even though he was a late round pick, and even though he kind of bounced around on practice squads for the last 2 years, dude, I was screaming that guy's name through the 5th and 6th round of the draft when McCagnon kept trading back, and then ended up taking Trevon Wesco. Ross Pierschbacher was the guy I wanted from Alabama. He can play center and guard, and I could not be happier. Most people are going to be like, I don't know, whatever, just a practice squad guy. I don't think that's what it is. I think he's another pipeline guy that within our system, with our coaches, this guy in a year or two just might be either a starter or, more realistically, the first line on our second string. He's a quality player, very raw, but he's got talent, man. And I couldn't be happier. I think it's a fantastic move, and I'm happy Joe Douglas is patient enough, Jeremy, to do this. You know, we were talking about his patience. What do you think about this? Do you have any thoughts about this signing? Do you have any thoughts about Joe Douglas? What's going on here?
Yeah, I like that he's always thinking. He's always thinking ahead. He's throwing, and it's a little bit, and it's not to put down the pickup. It's a little bit of dart throwing, but in a good way, right? It's like, I'm going to take these talented guys, these guys that look like they have potential, and we're going to load up the roster, the practice squad with guys like this, the guys that we can develop. And some of them are going to miss, and some of them are going to hit. This is just another dart in the air. But it's not just blindfolded dart in the air. It's like he obviously recognizes raw talent and then gives it to the coaching staff and says, hey, see what you can do with this. And over the next few years, we're going to see how many of these hit and how, and how good he is at this. Because this is, to me, what builds depth and championship teams. It's like everybody gets right. Everybody has the money to spend on free agents. Everybody has the draft picks, like their early round draft picks. It's those third, fourth, fifth, sixth round undrafted free agents, the guys you pick up, the guys you develop. I think that's what separates the championship teams and the championship organizations from the organizations that just try to buy championships.
I could not agree more. I think that was perfectly said. Everybody gets all psyched up for those first round picks and sometimes even the second round picks, but you can watch it. When you're watching the draft or when you're hanging out in the live stream after the first round, let's say on day 2, after the second round, viewership drops by like 50%. Nobody, as the draft goes on, people start to care less. They're less excited, and then they start to pay attention. I know guys like us, we're like our 7th round pick, we know all this stuff, but generally speaking, there's much more hoopla for the front end, and that's understandable. But Jeremy just nailed it. It's the guys in the later rounds and even undrafted free agents, and then those signings, those late in the season signings. If you can develop players, if you can hit on some of those guys, that is how you keep your ball rolling, how you keep the pipeline. And then when you lose free agents and stuff, everything is smooth, just like the Steelers and the Ravens and some other teams. You notice they lose their big name players almost every single year. Yet what happens? The next guy comes in and somehow magically he's better. Like, how does this? It's like, what the fuck? Where'd they get these guys? It's because they know how to pick in the late rounds. They know how to develop their players. And that's what I think we're starting to see. I don't think everybody's going to hit, but dude, you look, we already have an undrafted free agent, Bryce Huff, starting on the left end for us. We more than likely have an undrafted free agent, Nickelback. We have all late round picks, Bryce Hall, Jamian Sherwood, Hamza Nasruddin, Brandon Eccles, Jason Pinnock, Michael Carter II. It goes on and on and on. These are the young late round picks. If they can hit any of them, if we get, let's say, 2 of that group hits, it's a slam dunk, man. And that's how you build a team.
And one of the things, if you ever want to go back, because I grew up in a household that watched the Jets and the Giants my whole life growing up in the 80s. We played in the 90s. So we watched the Jets, we watched the Giants, because I sat with my dad, I sat with my brothers, football all day. And one of the things that I did once, I don't know what prompted it, but back in the day, one of the amazing things is when you watch the Giants and the Niners, right, in the mid 80s, late 80s, because think about the names of the players on the field when they played each other. It was insane. Ronnie Lott, Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, Lawrence Taylor, like out of control, right? But it wasn't just the stars, right? When you watch the offensive line of both the teams, the defensive line, those rosters were stacked. Those are such high quality teams. Go back to the early 80s, type in draft. NFL draft 1980, NFL draft 1981, 1982, and look at the players that those teams were drafting in the 3rd and 4th rounds. And that'll answer your question.
It's incredible. And that's where you have to hit. And people are already, look, as soon as we cut Jabari Zuniga, all the Joe Douglas haters that were kind of waiting in the wings, like they didn't like how he's doing things. It was instantaneous. The minute we cut Jabari Zuniga, which I knew he was getting brought back to the practice squad, it is what it is. He's injured. But everybody came out, see, his 2020 draft class sucks, blah, blah, blah. Guys, it takes a minute. It takes time. The good news with our GM is that he's not like anxious and susceptible to those emotionally based whims flying back and forth. He's a patient man. He knows what he's looking for. He knows the character, he knows the type, he knows the athleticism, and he's bringing them in. And it's going to take a few years for these guys, most of them, to actually become contributors. And I couldn't be more excited. And a guy like Ross Pierschbacher, again, I don't think he's going to come in and make everybody, regret not grab. It's not like that. But he absolutely has developmental qualities, and at a position that we need guys developing. He's a center / guard. And man, I went as far during that draft as to make a Ross Pierschbacher like film breakdown. You know what I mean? Like people are like, why are you talking about this guy so much? I'm like, I'm telling you, man, he's like Ross Pierschbacher. I got made fun of a lot. And I was upset that we didn't draft him. I'm happy we have Wesco now, but So let's switch gears. Anything else on our practice squad? I mean, I think our practice squad is stout, man. I really do. I mean, I think we've done a great job with that portion of our team.
Yeah, I think it's nice when you have names on the practice squad where you can activate them week to week and not feel bad about it, and not say, who is this guy, or this is a guy that I'd be terrified to play. When you take a guy like we did this week because Perrine's foot was questionable, like Josh Adams, and take him out and put him on the roster for week 1, and then it's a guy that can come into the game and you're not going to say, oh no, look who we have out there. But there are going to be a lot of fans that get excited, say, good, Adams is out there. Let's see what he can do, because we love this guy and we believe in this guy. So that's exciting when you could do that. And, and we filled in that safety position well. I was worried about, 10 days ago where we were as far as depth and safety.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, people get real anxious. Like, and I'll point to the beginning of our free agency again, when we didn't go out there and grab Joe Thuney and Galladay and Juju Smith-Schuster and Corey Linsley. People were losing their minds. They were like, Joe Douglas is a cheapskate. He said, nobody wants to play for the Jets. And it was just slow and steady. And he got one of the strongest free agent classes that we've seen in really quite a few years, man. Quite a few years. Even so much as grabbing Morgan Moses way late in the game. And that's the thing. It's like, it'll happen. I don't need to dump an extra $4 million a year on this one guy, because everybody's panicking. It's like, no, it'll happen. I couldn't be happier with his tact. So before I've been holding this comment back here. It's way at the beginning up top, and I know everybody's talking and everything, but I didn't want to lose this. So Salmon Jets brought up an interesting point, and I'd like to talk about this too. He said he read an article on Bleacher Report a few minutes ago. Pete Carroll loves Blessuan Austin. Great hitter that gives his all. So does Seattle win the Jamal trade? I don't see the correlation between the Jamal trade and Blessuan Austin. But any thoughts on this? I mean, I think it's interesting. Obviously we just cut Blessuan Austin and Seattle signed him, about 2-3 days after we cut him or so. So it didn't take too long, but any thoughts on, did we make a mistake, or what do you think of this?
Yeah, I'm not going to jump and criticize the Seattle organization because they win a lot of games, and they've turned around. They've done rebuilds where they don't lose. So you think they're going to be horrible for a couple of years, and but they've done it without losing and staying competitive. That being said, it's just interesting to me that the one thing that stands out when you think about the money they're paying our other friend that's over there, Jamal, and then you look at this, it seems like he doesn't really value guys who can catch or defend the pass, but maybe he values putting a lot of pressure and putting a lot of thought into like pressuring the quarterback to help those guys. I don't know, because it's like Bless Austin he hits hard, but he can't cover people. So he likes having guys back there who can hit hard, maybe cause turnovers, but as long as you could live with the fact that whoever Bless Austin's covering is going to probably, eat all day on you. Okay, go for it.
Yeah. And don't forget, Pete Carroll, just like you said, I mean, it's hard to really criticize because they've done very, very well. Now, and they've made a lot of mistakes as far as their trades and their draft picks and all they have. But at the end of the day, they hit on enough of their picks, and their coaching schematics are strong enough that they do well. Now, let just in complete fairness here and transparency, they have a quarterback that seems to will the team into winning. And maybe if they didn't have Russell Wilson, we might not be talking the same way about Seattle. A great quarterback, and make no mistake, he is a great quarterback. He's not just good, the guy's magical. And so when you have that, it does conceal a lot of other issues that you might be having. One good example is their offensive line. I mean, their offensive line has been terrible, but Russell Wilson is that good that he can make it so that's not destroying the entire team. Now, but Pete Carroll has also said that he liked Ja'Kai Polite. Don't forget, that's where Ja'Kai Polite went. He said, oh yeah, this guy, he's great, and he also said that about Perry Nickerson. Now, maybe not to the extent that he's saying it with Blessuan Austin, but he thought Perry Nickerson was going to be a contributor for them. And he was there for a little bit, practice squad, man, and they cut both players. So Blessuan Austin is one of those interesting players where he clearly has skills. I mean, nobody's saying that he doesn't have talent. But there's an issue with him. One is he doesn't cover very well consistently. There are times when he does, but he's not a consistent player. In addition to that, he misses far too many tackles. So he'll miss a tackle, and then the next play lay the wood, and it's like everybody's like, wow, look at that hit. So it's one of those things where he's a good player, but he's far too inconsistent. And again, I trust a staff made up of Robert Saleh, Jeff Ulbrich, Tony Oden. Those types of guys are looking at this guy and thinking he's not who we want moving forward. So if Blessuan Austin is a success over there, I don't think it means anything other than Blessuan Austin they didn't think he was good enough to not get the rookies on the field.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's either Carroll's going to be wrong, or we may even say we made a little bit of a mistake. It's possible, and it's fine. It doesn't matter. There's no organization that hasn't let go of a player, though they later may have regretted it. Even the best organizations, it's a possibility. But let's remember this: all spring, no TAs, all summer long, they're only the ones, Saleh, our coaching staff, that are watching hundreds and hundreds of reps, hundreds of reps. They kept Isaiah Dunn and cut Bless Austin. It's like, no, it's not because they woke up and said, let's mess with the Jets fans. Let's mess with the world and do silly things. They saw hundreds of reps, and they're seeing something. Regardless of what we saw at that little tiny sample size in the preseason of like an Isaiah Dunn, they are seeing something in the practices where they're believing in our system. The way we coach, we think that this individual will be better for the long term in our organization than that individual. Are they going to be right about everyone? No, they're not going to be right about everyone. What we have to trust is they're going to be right most of the time, and they're going to build us a great team.
That's right. And we also have to remember that, 1 year, like when somebody comes in and they play, like they're here for one season, if they're not all-stars, it doesn't mean that they suck. Like we're as a fan base, we're very fickle. I mean, I'll make a leap and call us bipolar. Like we're either, and that's that. I made a reel a couple days ago, really highlighting that. It's like how great things are. Oh, but it sucks. And then, how much, we're trying to be realistic, but but then we're going to win the Super Bowl. It's like Jets fans go back and forth, and we can love a guy, one interception, and it happens instantaneously. That guy goes from the guy you were talking about being great an hour ago to sucking. I mean, and that's how we roll as a fan base. But it's an interesting thing having a GM and a coaching staff that, I mean, you look at what they're doing this year. There's no mistake in it. I mean, yes, we're all hoping for wins. I want to beat Carolina tomorrow. I do. But that's really not Dude, this is an evaluation year. I mean, there's never been a team that is more clearly looking that way. I mean, they literally got rid of all vets. You know, like there's no real vet. Whatever there's a young guy being able to start, he's starting. You know what I mean? AVT, Becton, you got Elijah Moore, you got obviously Zach Wilson, you know, Jamian Sherwood, Hamza Nasruddin. Now, I think if Jared Davis was starting, we might not be seeing Nasruddin, and that's fair. But look at the defensive backs, man. I mean, they want to get their guys time, and that's the thing we have to remember. This is a patient staff, like Salah said. Yeah, I know we all want to win, and we understand and we respect, like we have sympathy for that urgency, but we're not going to do something now if it negatively affects the long-term goal. And that's the thing we haven't seen here. And it could be maddening. It can, especially against Sam Darnold. We want to beat this freaking guy. I do. As the clock ticks, Jeremy, I'm almost rabid how badly
the anxiety builds. And because I know and I'm confident in the long run, or, I believe strongly in the long run, we're heading in a great direction. And in 3 years, we're going to have very different conversations, and we're going to be sitting in a very different place. I believe that strongly in Douglas and Zach Wilson and Salah, all that great stuff. And I feel exactly what you're saying. We want to win each week, though. There's still pride. We still don't want to go and lose to Carolina and have to hear it, even though we know it's not true, because it's Darnold's fourth season. And it's Zach Wilson's first game. Yet, if we lose that game, we did the worst thing in the world. We gave away we know we're going to have to hear that. And we know that those people are wrong. We know that it's ridiculous that it's one game. But we don't want to have to hear it. But I agree. This is an evaluation year. It doesn't mean when we come on the field every week, we want to win. We want the players to play well. We're going to be competing hard and playing hard and wanting to win each game. But when you go to Joe Douglas's level, the important pieces of this season is development. It's building the long-term plan. And, it's the same thing in the corporate world with companies and organizations. There are companies like Amazon in the beginning kept investing and building and growing, and they wouldn't become profitable. And the investors hated them. Make money already, because, they're not making money. They're losing money. But Amazon, look where they ended up, because they didn't make decisions based on, I need to make as much money tomorrow.
That's right.
They were building up their infrastructure to make money long term. And most successful organizations, whether it's a sports organization or just a business, those are the corporate organizations that you look for. The ones that are making decisions for the long term, long-term plan.
And that's what we're seeing. I mean, look, it's I don't want to say it's easy, because we've failed at this too, but it's easier to scoop together a bunch of players. Like, look at our 2015 and just kind of win a few games, and then it's like right after that the bottom falls out, than it is to build a stable franchise. Which, dude, don't forget, the Patriots before Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, dude, they were a mess. Yes, they'd had some competitive years, but they were up and down. They had no foundation, no longevity. And you look at teams like the Cleveland Browns and all these other like bottom feeders like us, you can clearly see the difference between a team that's just slow, patient. Every year, do you see the Steelers running out and being the big buyers in free agency the first few days? Almost never. You never see it. Why is that? Because they know it's not the way. It's not the way. So I wanted to bring up another point. Blunted Vegas. I know I'm behind on the chat, but I'm just seeing some stuff I don't want to just skim through and forget what you guys are saying. Really grateful that you guys are here. I'm seeing a lot of guys. It's Snoopy is here. Greg Tarr is here. Blunted Vegas. This is really cool, man. For a Saturday, this is the first time doing it, and I'm just it's nice to see you guys this early on a Saturday morning, man, especially during football season. So Blunted Vegas says Joe Douglas hasn't drafted anyone decent. Becton fell into his lap. What stud has Joe found in the draft? LOL, no one. Well, let me
not
say
really
this.
True.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, but here's the thing. I'm going to say this. Blunted Vegas and anyone sharing this mindset can say that right now, because it's that early in the process. There's literally no way, unless they came out and were all-stars, like he mentioned Becton. Becton, without the shoulder stuff and all that, was having a Pro Bowl season. That's how good he was. But other than that, I mean, we saw the talent of Mims, we saw the talent of Hall, but it was one of those things where it's like we're so early in the process that you can say this and nobody can argue with you. I mean, what are we going to say? He had 10 or 11 draft picks in 2021. We've never seen them play, so we could clearly say every single one of them sucks. And nobody has a thing. All we can say is, no, Zach had a couple nice passes in preseason. I mean, that's all we got. But here's what I will say, and then I'll pass it over to you, Jeremy. Becton didn't fall into his lap. Becton was one of 500 players that were still sitting there. It's not that it's an easy pick. I mean, you look how many times the New York Jets picked the wrong guy at number 6 or number 11 or number 15. We've taken the wrong guy dozens of times. Clearly the wrong guy. Becton was not the safe pick. And it's still, the jury's out on him. Tristan Wirfs, there were 4 tackles. 2 of them were taken. Tristan Wirfs was the safe pick. Every Jets organization before this, if they were going to take Wirfs or Becton, they were taking Wirfs 100% of the time. I mean, in truth, they never would have taken an offensive lineman that early anyway. But so there's that. But so the fact that Joe Douglas's first pick ever as a GM was a left tackle, the fact that it was the boomer bust, Mekhi Becton, shows that was not an easy pick. And don't forget all the people that were screaming for CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy. A nice chunk of our fan base wanted a wide receiver there. The best wide receiver best was still on the board. So it wasn't exactly an easy pick. If Becton works out for us, which it looks like he has the talent to, the injury thing and all that, we don't know. If that works out, that is a brilliant pick by Joe Douglas. Now, Tristan Wirfs, he's doing great for Tampa. He's playing right tackle, which is his natural position. If the Jets took him, everybody wanted to switch him over to the left side. We're seeing Penei Sewell going from left to right. It's not always that smooth, man. It's not always easy. It's a complete reversal of every body movement that they've been doing for however long. So anyway, I don't think Becton is, a lot of people say, I've had this discussion many times. It's not that Becton fell into his lap. Becton just happened. There was only 10 players picked before we were on the board. So there was only 10 guys who weren't there. The rest of them, you got to figure out which guy is going to be the best for your team. And I think Joe Douglas showed a lot of moxie and a lot of balls to be able to, write down Becton's name and send that card in.
Yeah, I'll also say, would you rather be the Giants who took Andrew Thomas with the 4th pick over Becton right now? And the jury could still be out. So I'm going to give the same benefit of doubt to the Giants. But right now, I'm happy with Becton, right? Yeah. And he had the 4th pick. And then, there were other tackles we could have picked. There were other positions that our old GMs would have picked, and we would have ignored the offensive line. And then even though it wasn't enough for Darnold last year, now we go into this year taking an offensive line with Becton, combining it. Now we're starting to build a real offensive line. So I don't see anything wrong with that draft. And Bryce Hall, if he ends up, and I'm not one of these people saying Bryce Hall is going to be this cover magnet CB1. No, even if he's just a solid CB2, for where we got him, that's a great pick. And Denzel Mims, everything has been so exaggerated this offseason. That guy averages more yards per catch than any look at the wide receivers and the yards per catch. And if that's who he is, if we're going to have Corey Davis and Elijah Moore and guys like that getting most of the receptions, but in key moments, you're going to see Mims come up with 30-yard pass plays, 25, 30 yards downfield, making big plays. That's not a bad pick. I'll take a receiver on my team who I could utilize that way. And when I'm in the red zone, have a guy with that kind of height that can compete and jump up for contested balls in the end zone, especially the way Zach Wilson throws them. And we're going to need time to know for sure, but I have no problem with this 2020 draft.
Yeah.
And no problem at all. So, and this draft looks like magic so far.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's magical in the fact that how many of them got immediately into starting roles. That is magical. I don't know, but look, again, I mean, these guys could come out and play terribly for 12 weeks. But if the staff is working on them and they start to settle down, and then next year, that's what this year is. It's interesting, and just like you said, Andrew Thomas, and I'll be real honest, man, from my evaluations, and I'm no pro scout or anything, but I obviously do my time. I put my time in. I look at these guys. I evaluate them myself, and then I read everything. I was a big Andrew Thomas supporter. I knew he would be the first tackle off the board, and I thought that he should have been the first tackle off the board. And if it was me at 4, I probably would have taken Andrew Thomas over Mekhi Becton. I liked Becton well enough. I liked Wills, and I liked all of them. But Andrew Thomas going at 4 and looking like he's looked is a much worse situation than where Becton is. Becton looks like an absolute stud. The thing with Becton and Mims is that it really is going to be injuries with these guys. And the same thing applies with Jabari Zuniga, Ashton Davis. I mean, these are talented guys. They have not been able to play consistently. And dude, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter how much talent you have. If you can't play on the field, if you never get on the field, you're a bust. A lot of the older guys will remember a guy named Mike Haight, huge left tackle that we drafted back in the 80s. And he was like one of the best picks that we ever had. And then he got hurt every single year. And who the hell knows about Mike Haight? Nobody, because we know about Anthony Munoz, but we don't know about Mike Haight because he was always injured, therefore had no career. So I think somebody said, where was it? I think David Gerard had a good comment, and then we'll wrap this one up. So this is like, keeping with Blunted Vegas's initial comment. He says, JD can be criticized, but he's at least not making the mistakes of our former GMs. He's making the right picks regardless if they work out. And that, I mean, it's hard. A lot of people aren't going to be able to digest that. How is it the right pick if the guy doesn't work out, right? And I see that, but that's a very black and white way to look at it. It's how to build a team. Not every player you're going to bring in is going to work, but there is a system on how to do it. And the Jets of old had no idea how to do it. And I think David Gerard makes a really good point. And he can be criticized because it's so early in the process. I mean, you can say anything you want about anybody because we don't know. You know what I mean? We literally don't know. But I think that's a great point, that what I'm seeing from Joe Douglas in the how is what's making so much sense to me. Do you have any thoughts on that piece?
Yeah, I just think that's exactly right. I mean, it's a great comment by David. It's just a matter of, you gotta look at the information you had at the time. What information did we have at the time that we made the pick? And if a pick works out, then yay. And if it doesn't work out, the thing you criticize is, if anything, is what information did you have at the time? And if you have an organization that's constantly taking guys that don't work out, and you can make an argument each time that we had information that and an explanation of why it was a bad pick. Mm-hmm. Like we can go back into 3 or 4 years of picks in a row. We kept taking defensive tackles, and now we could look and say, look, with the information, forget about whether they worked out or not. The information you had was you had a quarterback who was harassed by the defense, who had no chance to succeed, and you're sitting there picking defensive tackles in a system where defensive tackles are just filling out space. Just like you always say, that is what you criticize, mm-hmm. right? That is because you had the information. You knew what your team was. You knew what your team needed, and yet you made these decisions that made no sense with the information you had. Joe Douglas took a giant offensive tackle that can be dominating and looks like he's going to be dominating because that's what we needed.
Right.
So, I mean, when you look back at that pick, it's a pretty sensible pick to me. Denzel Mims, Green Bay, if you watch Green Bay's reaction when they took Jordan Love, and if you watch the YouTube content, guys, right before Green Bay picked, one of the names they were screaming out and were excited about was Denzel Mims. They wanted him in the first round.
Right.
We got him deep in the second. So with the information we had and with what people thought and where people were about, whatever happens with Denzel Mims, whether he's a great player, an average player, or fades away, with the information we had at the time, Joe Douglas was able to grab a guy that other people wanted late in the first round and had projected that could go there and be a pick the fans would have been happy with. So let's give him some credit.
Right. It makes a ton of sense. And it really is like on a very simple plane. There are moves that make sense and moves that make you scratch your head and go, what? The Jets were on the ladder 99% of the time. Just like you said with the defensive tackles. Like we used the 3rd overall pick on a quarterback. not only did we use the 3rd overall pick, we actually used the 3rd overall pick and 3 second-round picks on a quarterback. The next pick was a small school defensive tackle that was 25 years old. So it made no sense. And like Mike McCagden, right after he made the Sam Darnold pick, he said, we're very, very happy. We feel incredibly fortunate that Sam slid to us. Now the rest of the draft is going to be about building around him. And he did nothing of the sort. Nothing. Defensive tackles. He got a tight end for him and Trenton Cannon in the 6th. That's all he gave Sam Darnold. And it was clear what was going on. And we drafted Quinnen Williams at 3rd overall. I mean, it made no, especially because we're playing at 3-4, like just like you mentioned, with where Quinnen Williams is going to be a nose tackle 2-gapping. Basically, his job is to eat space. You can find space eaters in the 6th round, 5th round, undrafted free agents. If you just want them to eat space, that's where you get those guys. You don't use the 3rd overall pick on a guy to eat space on the defensive line. So it's interesting. And Chris Bradigan says, I'm gonna say the jury is still out, but I truly believe we have some guys that can really play and contribute right away. And I think that's the key. If this coaching staff is worth their salt, if they are half of what we think their potential is, as far as development and all that goes, it's better that we have all these young guys starting, because they're going to be able to identify first, and then, who's worth developing. And I think that's why Blessuan Austin's gone. And then they're going to be able to take this raw talent and make something out of it, which the Jets have had a major vacuum for just the longest time, which is why you see us spending so much money in free agency. I mean, think about this, Jeremy. If these guys actually do work, let's say Bryce Hall, Brandon Eccles, Nasruddin, some of these guys do work. Like, they're good NFL, starters. Look at how long they're going to be together. When's the last time we've had a team that was actually together for more than 2 years? You can't even say it, because it doesn't happen. Right? When's the last time that we had a team that was together for more than 2 years? Anybody want to take a shot at that one?
Probably when we were winning, about 10, 11 years ago. Yeah.
That's it. And even those guys, but we did have the core. We had Ferguson and Mangold and Revis and David Harris. Like, we had a core of guys that were together for a long time. And that's how you build. You need that foundation. Then other pieces can come and go, but you still have your core. The Jets are trading a core player for core player. You got Avery Williamson, then we got CJ Mosley. Then it just goes on and on and on. And I think we're finally doing it the right way. That's
everybody's running and saying, give this guy the money, give this guy the money. It's like, let's look at the organizations that have had sustained success. Look at Pittsburgh. Look who they've paid. Look who they chose to pay, right? They're the cheap guys. They let all these wide receivers go. They never pay anyone. Who did they just pay? They just paid the guy that disrupts the offense. They just paid an elite defensive player huge money. They're willing to spend money. They're just smart enough to know you got to spend that money because the cap limits you, right? You have a budget, and they know you got to fill the spots that are so difficult to fill that most of the teams in the league have trouble filling. The guys that are difference makers. And then you got to fill the other positions with well-coached players that you develop. That's the only way to win in this league. But for everybody who's saying the Steelers don't pay anybody and they lose all their players, well, they keep winning, right? Because the players that they do pay, they know who to pay. And that's what you're going to see from Joe Douglas, I believe, in upcoming years. You're going to see the guys that get paid are the guys that are these elite guys that are not replaceable, right? These are those foundation pieces that you build around. And there's going to be some frustrating guys that we have to let go. And the reason we have to let them go is not because we don't appreciate them. It's because we have a salary cap and we have to live within those rules of that cap. So we have to decide who are the players we could replace around that core, because you just can't pay everybody.
Right. And that's the thing. It's knowing who to pay. Like, even this year, we have some really great examples this last 12-month period. Is Jamal Adams one of those guys? Is Marcus May one of those guys? As good as players might be, there are positions and players you pay, and there are positions and players that you don't. And I think while it's going to be difficult, I'm happy that we have a GM that seems to understand that, man. And it's like, it can be maddening at times and emotional. Look, I'm a fan, dude. I'm a fan. All right. Now I know a lot more than maybe the casual fan. And I'm a little bit neurotic when it comes to the Jets. And but the truth is I want to win these damn games. I want to see a Super Bowl. Like, I'm a fan. So I do get emotionally attached to players, especially coming from a previous era when players were ours their whole career. That was it. Kyle Clifton was a Jet from day one to to his final day. And I miss that. I like having that connection to players. But the truth is that in today's NFL, you cannot be misguided about values. You can't. And Joe Douglas, at least, seems to have a grasp on that. Like Robert Saleh said again today, he said the way Joe Douglas handled these things, I forget what the specific case was, but he said the way Joe Douglas handled it was it was Sam Darnold. He said it was exactly the way that it should have been handled. Now, agents are going to say what they're going to say. Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas are lockstep, man. They believe in one another. They have the exact same mentality. Robert Saleh has said it numerous times. The way Joe Douglas is doing this is the exact way to do this. And that's another thing that we haven't seen. Look at Rex and Idzik. Look at, McCagnon and Bowles downright hated each other. We finally have something going on. And that'll lead us into, what do you think our chances are realistically? Now, we did Thursday Thick of It. We came up with an 11-3 record. I thought we were going to be a little bit more grounded. I did. I got to admit it. I thought we were going to be grounded. I realized about 30% of the way through that, this is impossible. There's no way you're going to get 100 Jets fans together on a live stream and get us to be realistic. It's just not. But so we came up with 11-3, which technically was a little better than 12-5 we did last time. So we're getting there. But realistically, man, do you think we have a shot to beat these Panthers tomorrow?
I definitely think we have a shot to beat the Panthers tomorrow. Like there's and for specific reasons we've talked about, and we can briefly cover, because I fully don't. And one of the main reasons is take the focus on us and let's put the focus on the Panthers. Yes, they have some big name players. So do we. By the way, we have some exciting names too now. Jeremy, exciting weapons.
Jeremy, hold that thought. Don't lose the thought. I just want to acknowledge something before we lose them. So Braden. Like I said, this is Jets Worldwide. We're hoping to be able to extend this olive branch and make a more realistic show for people in other countries. But Australia is a toughie. So he said it's 3 a.m. Is that right, Braden?
Yeah,
it's
it was
3
crazy.
a.m. People are sympathetically saying, dude, go to sleep. He said, I've been asleep already. It's time for breakfast. So I just want to commend you guys. I really do, man. I mean, look, we're trying to kind of make it a little bit better, but I mean, the world is a big place. It's a big place. It's hard to be realistic for everybody, but I do want to take a second and thank guys like Phil, like Braden, and some others that are in here, committed, man. And I couldn't be more appreciative, and I couldn't, that's why we're doing this, because we do appreciate you guys. I want you to know that.
Absolutely. It's like that was the whole point. But and maybe one day we will be able to find a time slot that works for Australia and New Zealand. You never know.
We got we got to hook up with them. Well, we'll spend some time with Braden and others and say, optimally, what would be the best time for your country? And maybe we'll do something. Maybe it's 4 a.m. here. Maybe we just got to do that. I mean, maybe that's what we got to do.
We just got to do it. We got to please the Jets fan. We got to help our international Jets fan out.
That's it, man. We're trying.
But going back to that,
continue your thought. I apologize for that.
No, that's fine. So going back to that Carolina thing, do we have a shot? Yeah, I'm hoping we have more than just a shot. I'm thinking, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not somebody who believes Carolina has proven a thing. I believe that they have what I believe is a quarterback that a lot of people make a lot of excuses for. And I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm saying he's not an elite quarterback. And I've seen it because it's not just the team that was around him. I've seen him on many plays missing there's so much tape out there where he's missed. He does have time, and there's open receivers, and he's indecisive, and he's making mistakes, and he gets flustered. We're playing a team that I don't believe has a strong quarterback. He's a quarterback who could have great games. He's a quarterback that can have ups and be really good, and he can definitely hurt us. So I'm not taking the game lightly or taking him lightly, but he's also a guy that we can fluster and possibly dominate. I think realistically, when we say 11, 12 wins, we're not being very realistic. I think and I say that as someone who, with the right pieces of it, could be very happy. I could walk out of this season with 7 wins and be thrilled if it was for the right reasons, if things went the right way. Like if we get a couple of those young guys in the secondary, like a Nasaldine or a Sherwood or a Pinnock or an Eccles, turn out to have sparks and look like real guys. And if Zach Wilson, the most important piece, looks like a real guy who flashes and has the kind of season we saw last year from Justin Herbert, like that kind of season. If things like that happen, I could walk away from a 7-win season feeling great.
Right. Yeah. Well said, man. And that's really the thing. It's like somebody asked, and I'm sorry, I'm outside, as you guys know. The sun is rising and it's now getting hot in my little cage here. So bear with me. All right. So somebody said, if the Jets, it was on Twitter, I think, if the Jets played like Dallas, lost the game, same way. But Zach Wilson threw for 300 yards and it's same thing, scored a bunch of points, and would you be okay with it? And I'm going to tell you right now, I would be ecstatic with it. We just want to see, coming from last year, where with no exaggeration, by the second drive of the first game, I was saying it, this season's over. We are lifeless. This is game one. If this is the energy we're bringing into game one, we are in big trouble. And obviously that's the way this season went. There were games, they felt like they were 8 hours long. It was boring. I wanted the games to end. And that's why at least it became fun rooting for losses. We made, lemonade out of lemons, man. That's what we did. But this year, if we could just come out, be competitive, be exciting, and actually see Zach Wilson. I mean, we want to see all the young players, but Zach Wilson, way up top of this pyramid of importance, if he can look like he's doing something here, like he can be an NFL quarterback, I think everything's moving in the right direction. Now, do you think our defensive line, we've heard a lot about their offensive line woes, and obviously our defensive line is not at 100%, but do you really think that Saleh and Ulbricht are going to be able to dial up a scheme that exploits their weakness with guys like Quinnen Williams, Sheldon Rankinson, John Franklin Myers, Fadu Kasi, Bryce Huff? Do you think we're going to be able to do that and actually rattle Sam Darnold? Realistically, do you think we should be excited about that opportunity?
Yeah, in this matchup, losing Lawson, I've been, everybody knows that knows me, that's heard me talk, was such a hard gut kick. Right. And there are games where that's going to kill us. He was such a big piece of our hope for this year. But in this particular matchup, there's 2 things I want to point out, right, that we've talked about a million times. Carolina is very weak on the interior of their line. And we have very high quality interior defensive linemen. When you talk about Q Williams, Rankins, when he's healthy, has played like a beast. Fadokasi, a very good run stopping guy, could be very disruptive at times. John Franklin Myers gets off the ball really well, whether he's playing on the inside or the outside. So I see against Carolina, we could still be very, very effective. I think it's extremely realistic that we're going to give Sam Darnold fits. The other thing, the point I want to make is the system. Like, for as good as Q Williams has been, early on in his career, and everybody's saying he's ready to take the next step, there's also a new defensive scheme that we've seen work, in Saleh's past, to allow interior guys to raise, and to create more havoc for quarterbacks as well. So not only do he's at the point of his career to step up and make more of a difference and put up numbers, but we might see Q Williams put up 12 to 14 sacks.
Right.
I mean, so he might step up and be that guy that's really getting consistent pressure on the quarterback from the inside. It's not impossible. In this system, we've seen that happen.
Yeah. I think that's one of the guys I'm most excited about is Quinnen Williams. Honestly, I mean, like, Frankie talked about it a little bit last night. I mean, we got to remember that there are question marks about him too. I mean, we haven't seen him in the preseason. Why? Because he had surgery on his foot. Now, feet for big guys like that are just so vitally important. And we don't know, even if he's at 80%, that foot, it could take just that little bit of edge away and nullifies his effectiveness. Because man, that's what football is. I mean, everybody on the field is among the elite in the world at this particular sport. So if you're a better player, but the guy than the guy in front of you, but you're just a little bit injured, that could be the equalizer and nullify whatever advantages you would normally be bringing to the table. So my hope is that Quinnen Williams next to Sheldon Rankins, it is a horror show for offensive lines, and it's pretty, specifically this offensive line, because we know if you can rattle Sam Darnold, like I got into a discussion with somebody after, I forget what video I made, but they were like, every quarterback, does worse with pressure in their face. You talking about Sam, and it's like, yeah, that's a good point. But Sam is one where when you get pressure in his face, the whole game is ruined. Like he starts to overreact and he starts to panic and he starts with the whole thing with ghosts. What that means is I'm feeling pressure when it's not there. That's what he means. Now, that's what Belichick was able to do to him that game. But the truth is, it wasn't isolated to that game. We've seen so many occasions where Sam Darnold took off out of a perfectly formed pocket. He just decided to run. Why? Because he's shell-shocked. He thinks somebody's there. He's feeling pressure that does not exist. If we're able to get to him early, let's say within the first drive, we at least hit him right as he's throwing the ball. Boom, we hit him. That's going to be enough to start the Sam Darnold thought process again, and he'll start leaving the pocket when it's there and making silly mistakes and throwing off the back foot and all that weird shit that he does. I think that we could see a lot of that. Now, Ryan and Ali were actually on a Panthers show last night, and I stopped over there and I was hanging out with them, and they were trying to be respectful, but the truth is, especially in the chat, I was having a good time in the chat. They literally think that there is no way in hell that our offense is going to be able to score a single point against their defense. Do you have any thoughts about their defense? What does the chat think? You think we're going to be able to score points? They were the 18th defense last year, 18th ranked defense. They added a couple guys, namely their draft pick, J.C. Horn, who looks pretty damn good in the draft. But do you think our offense is going to be able to do anything with these guys? We just lost Crowder. We might not have Keelan Cole. We lost LaMichael Pirine, as you mentioned earlier. Josh Adams is being brought up. What do we think about our opportunity here? Are we going to be able to score points, or is our first-time quarterback going to be kind of quieted when we play them?
Well, yeah, I think they see a 2-14 team. They don't dig deep into the moves that we make. They don't know. They're not getting pumped up, just like they're getting pumped up about their defense, because we could be wrong too and getting overly pumped up. We're getting pumped up about guys like Elijah Moore. We're getting pumped up about our guy Zach Wilson. What it comes down to is I could see them not seeing us as a threat because they don't know how good, like they're thinking they're buying into the hype of all the analysts, like a Stephen A. Jackson, right? Who tells them Zach Wilson had a cream puff schedule. He's just going to be some rookie quarterback. But we know that Zach Wilson might come and light them up like a pinball machine, and they have no idea it's coming. I don't think a lot of the league has any idea what's coming with Elijah Moore. I think, I honestly don't think they know what's coming. And I believe so fully, I see something so special about this kid that he is going to terrorize defenses, that he's going to be a tremendous problem. The way we talk about their running back, that's the way people are going to talk about Elijah Moore. How do you stop this kid? Because the way he runs routes with the efficiency, such a hard worker, uses his hands to catch the ball. He's a vacuum. And then the connection between Wilson and Corey Davis that we saw, and then we watch those behind the scenes things, and we see that the maturity of Corey Davis and how he's coming out. as a guy who's really believing in himself and really step up in a system that will really allow him to show his potential more than it was in Tennessee. I just think there are things that they don't see. They don't know, they saw in the draft AVT and then you forget about it. No, this is a guy that alongside Becton is going to, just pound and make, they might be making pancakes all day. They don't see guys like Fadakasi. They don't see guys like Sheldon Rankins. They don't see those kind of things. They don't see those little matchups in the trenches that we might win and we might dominate. That's going to make it very difficult for them. They see a 2-14 team with the rookie quarterback. That's what they see.
Right. And that's really well said. I mean, look, and in complete fairness to everybody, even us, we don't know the intricate details, the practice squad, the 6th round picks of the Carolina Panthers, the San Francisco 49ers, the Arizona Cardinals. Like, that's our job as fans. We obsess about a particular team, and they're doing the same thing. But they seem to think that it's going to be a slaughter. I mean, somebody actually used that exact word. It's going to be a slaughter on Sunday. Now, my hope is that their coaches actually think that too. Like, look at this team. They're starting 8 rookies. Like, they don't know what the fuck. We're going to punch them square in the head. And then we come out and, like you said, use guys like Elijah Moore, like Corey Davis, like Denzel Mims, who is such a stud. I mean, I just can't wait. If this kid can stay healthy, every single Jets fan is going to go, oh my God. Like, he just might be one of our best draft picks ever. That's how I feel about Denzel Mims. But the Corey Davis thing is really interesting because Corey Davis, as we know, was a 1st-round pick, had a rough couple years, just kind of getting his feet underneath him in the NFL. And then last year had essentially 1,000 yards on a run-first team. And you see, like, he's entering his prime, man. Like, we have a 1st-round pick wide receiver who's entering his prime, who is really, and from what we've seen, is excited to kind of show the world. And I think Corey Davis is going to be our bell cow as far as the wide receiver room goes. I think he's going to be the rock. And I could not be more excited for these guys. And while I'm not rooting for guys like Crowder and Keelan Cole to be injured or not play, I think this is just an opportunity for Denzel Mims. He's just been bumped up a little bit. He's going to go into the game, and he's going to show the world. Corey Davis, Denzel Mims, and Elijah Moore out there are going to shake some screws loose, man. If we can protect Zach, I think we're gonna show the world, like, wait a second. You know what I mean? Wait a second.
Yeah, and it's when you look at it on paper, even it's like we're not living in fantasy world to say that we could have a good offensive line. You look at the competition at right tackle between Font and Moses. Oh my God! And then you look at AVT and Becton on the other side, and you're looking at I believe a center that's in. He says it, and I said it. We said it back in the draft when we got Saleh. We said it. We could expect our interior line to improve a little bit just by the scheme. We have a center who's built for this zone blocking, the outside zone blocking scheme. So our offensive line could be potentially very good. And if you have a very good offensive line and we see a rookie that we've seen his arm talent, you give Zach Wilson time and those receivers, we could be extremely dangerous.
Yeah. And I think that's really what it boils down to. It's, Matt Rule and what he's got going on down there. Matt Rule's made a lot of very questionable decisions so far. And again, they won 5 games last year. So they did add to their team. But I don't know, man. I don't think they're going to be quite the juggernaut that they think they are. Their weapons are legit. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Terrace Marshall, who I loved in the draft, even Shai Smith later in the draft. He's not playing, but he's another one. Very Elijah Moore-esque, very similar type of impact on the game. But it's all about that offensive line, and they ignored it. They ignored the offensive line. We have seen that time and time and time again. When you ignore the offensive line, you could have all the window dress, you have the finest curtains, the best tables, whatever you want, but you have no foundation. And so what are you going to do? Hang curtains on a fucking broken wall? So that's kind of the way I see this. It's all about the trenches, man. And they didn't address it. And they have big problems right now.
And we've seen so much evidence of it. Kansas City had injuries in the Super Bowl, and look what it did. Look what it did to their offense because their offensive line had holes in it. Look what that caused. Look at being in New York, a lot of people know very well the Giants struggles, no offensive line. We know from ourselves, look what happened when we didn't take offensive lines in the draft and we didn't build an offensive line. It's time and time again. If you don't have that offensive line, those weapons are neutralized.
They mean nothing. You can have Robbie Anderson running wide open 35 yards down the field. Sam Darnold's on his back. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So, and Stephen Engel has a really good point here. And I'll get your thoughts, and we can talk about the Crowder trade and everything like that. The rumor. So he says there's a reason they kept 7 wide receivers on the 53 and have Vincent Smith on the practice squad. Injuries happen, and we'll still be okay. Do you think he's on to something here? A lot of people were predicting the Jets to keep 6 wide receivers. You think Joe Douglas learned anything from 2020 with all the receivers going down and having to sign guys midway through and start them off the street and all that? What do you think about our 7 wide receivers, and do you think it's to our benefit?
Yeah, you never want to sit there and have your wide receiver 1 be Berrios, right? And that's not a knock on Berrios at all. Or Jeff Smith or any of those guys. I love having those guys as the wide receiver 6 and 7 or 5 and right. And they have attributes. Yeah. They have things about them that can make them dangerous in the right situation, and we could utilize them as tools on certain kind of plays. But yeah, I think that when you experience that and you live through that and see how fast receivers can go down, and you just drafted a rookie quarterback and you don't want to put him in a situation where he doesn't have receivers to throw to, do you want to be really deep in that room?
Yeah. And that's the whole key. It's like, look at what Joe Douglas went through last year. You know what I mean? It was like we lost everybody. We were literally signing guys from the street and the practice squad, and they were starting that week. Jeff Smith, we signed up from the practice squad. He started that game and went to IR. That it's like, that's how bad it was. So having a nicely stocked wide receiver room, a lot of fans are ready to get rid of Mims or get rid of Crowder. It makes zero sense to me. Especially, it's almost like we don't remember. We don't remember just a year ago what it actually looked like to be decimated. Now, if Keelan Cole goes down, if Crowder is not starting, look who we have. Elijah Moore and Denzel Mims. And we still have Berrios and Jeff Smith backing them up. Jeff Smith is now not a starter. He's not wide receiver 1 or 2. He's wide receiver 7. And that's the way that you want to see it. I couldn't be more excited. So game plan, PG Hudson says, this game should be ground and pound. We'll unleash the pass game later. What do you see as our how are we going to open the game? What do you see as our game plan? How are we going to enter the game? Are we going ground and pound, or are we going to let Zach Wilson toss the ball all over the place?
Well, I think in general, we know what the scheme is. And I think it's an obvious answer that in general, we're going to always just try to establish the run, especially with a rookie quarterback, right? In general, game to game, we're always going to try, and the game plan is always going to be, we want to ground and pound. If we can, we'll win games grounding and pounding. Zach can throw 12 passes, and if we rush for 300 yards or 250 yards total with the committee, we'd be thrilled. We'd be thrilled to win a game like that. Keep the defense off the field. It's the safest, easiest way to win a game if you can control the line of scrimmage in the run game and just run all day on a team. And I think we would love to do that. Now, in this particular game, do we know? Because the defense knows what we're going to try to do. So is there a chance we're going to come out first play of the game and do a play action? He pulls the ball back and he whips a 15, 20 yard down because he thinks that's what's better psychologically for Wilson. If we can open up the game with a big pass play and get him going, is that impossible? That's not impossible. It could be just a mind game, a strategy thing to keep Carolina off of balance. Yeah. But you'll see them settle back into the run. We're going to try. I can't imagine that we're just going to come out and be airing it out. And we're not going to do what Dallas did yesterday, where everybody's screaming, how come you're not using your guy, Elliott? You're not using this running back. You pay him all this money. Look how many carries he had. That's not going to be the Jets. We've seen this scheme. We know the philosophy. I can't predict what we're going to do in the first drive, but overall, we're going to hand that ball off a lot. Yeah, and we're going to do everything we can to establish a running game. The secret weapon I think we have, the thing that makes it a little different than what LaFleur had in San Francisco, is that I believe that we're not totally screwed if we can't establish the run game, because there's a chance. We don't know yet. He hasn't taken an NFL snap, but there's a chance that we have this secret little weapon, this very special quarterback who, even without a running game, if he's forced to pass a lot, just might be very, very special. And it might become, oh my God, now we have this system of run first, ground and pound, control the ball, but we also have this incredible quarterback that's forcing the coaching staff to throw the ball more because he's that good.
Yeah. And that's interesting, especially with our wide zone is really predicated on tiring the defense. Interestingly, the front seven, making them run horizontally, east to west as opposed to north and south. Getting them to have to run 15 yards to stop a 3-yard run is really it. I'm telling you, I'm just so in favor of this game plan. I've been digging into it all off season. I couldn't be happier and ready to see it. But I agree with you, and I agree with PG Hudson, that I think what we're going to try to do is come out, establish that run, 4 yards a clip. That's all we need. Just 4 yards a clip, run it to the left, let Becton and AVT with West Coast shooting up there to grab the linebacker and knock him out of the way and get 4 or 5 yards a clip. We do that. When they overcompensate to stop it, the game opens up, and then play action and all kinds of other things start becoming more effective. And I think that's what we're going to see. But I think you had a really good point. Let's say the running game is just we're breaking off 7 yards regularly. I think they're going to take what the defense gives. I think if that works, they're just going to, you're going to see them. We have a stable of 4 running backs. It's not one guy getting tired. You'll see Ty Johnson, Michael Carter, Josh Adams, Tevin Coleman. You'll just see them going all day long, fresh legs on a tired defense. And I think if we can actually get that established, I think Zach Wilson's going to have a field day with the well-placed and well-timed passes that he does have. I want to take a second and remind everybody, it's really nice of you if you can hit the like button. If you haven't subbed to the channel, that is also greatly appreciated. As you can see, what we're trying to do right now is trying to expand our love and appreciation to Jets fans that find it difficult to get to our normally scheduled live streams. If you want to support this effort and support the channel, guys like Jeremy and myself, carving out time and trying to get this out to you and keep you going all season, you can support the channel on my Patreon. The information is in the description of this video. It's greatly appreciated. There are some benefits associated with Patreon as well. Early releases, access to me during the week, things like that. And that would be greatly appreciated. 3 tiers, 5, 10, 25. I hope that you will consider supporting the channel. Don't forget, we are listener supported. I don't get paid by anybody to do this or anything like that. So it's appreciated. We also take super chats and all that jazz. But on the baseline, try to hit that like button, hit the sub button. It means the world. And don't forget about Jeremy's channel over there with Frankie from Flatbush. They got some good stuff going on over there. Really good content, I have to say. And that's at Frankie from Flatbush on YouTube as well. So we're going to start to wrap this up a little bit. I think an hour and a half is going to be good for today. I can already see my family out there kind of looking there. They're curious. What the hell is this? So let me get to Crispy Cottage says, hit the like, fellas. I agree. So a couple things. Let's do this before we go, and we'll get the chat nice and involved. What's up, Big Block Joe? Glad you made it. First run, first pass, who's it going to? So who do we hand the ball off to first? Who do we pass the ball to first? Who's getting our first reception of the Zach Wilson era? What do you think, Jeremy?
I think the first reception is going to be Elijah Moore. I think it's going to be a quick slant or something like that, something really fast.
Interesting. I just saw somebody, Jets Forever, said the same thing. There it is. Elijah Moore better have the first touch.
Yeah, I think we're going to take them right from the start, because that corner, like when whoever's covering them, they're gonna, maybe he'll break their ankle. Like, I think that he's gonna, like, they're not ready for the speed. They're not ready for the way his acceleration when he changes direction. Like, they're not gonna have that feel for him yet. So I think that the game's gonna open up and he's gonna run one of those routes and do some kind of cut, and he's gonna break open that space, and Wilson's just gonna nail it, right into his chest. And then I guess the running is hard. It's hard by committee, but I think Ty Johnson will probably get the first run.
Ty Johnson and Elijah Moore. You know what? And just to dovetail with what you just said, you know what I want to see most? What I want to see most is J.C. Horn covering Elijah Moore, like stick Elijah Moore on the outside.
Great.
J.C. Moore's covering him. All the Carolina fans are so psyched. They're going to take care of this rookie. And Elijah Moore breaks his ankles. He falls on his face and he catches it and ends up in the end zone, first play of the game. That's what I'd like to see. That's optimal. So let us know in the chat. What are you guys thinking? I see some answers. I want to thank Big Block Joe for the super chat. I do appreciate it, Joe. And again, I'm glad you're here. It's so nice to see you guys on a Saturday morning over here. And I know in Europe, it's not morning, but it's afternoon. But it's nice to be together when it's not like midnight. You know what I mean? It's like we're usually like we're nocturnal as a fan base these days. So it's nice to see everybody. Jets Forever says Elijah Moore on both. He wants to hand it to Elijah Moore too. Jets by Jimmy is saying Ty Johnson first run, Corey Davis first reception. And honestly, that's, even though I really liked what you said and I jumped on it with you, my thoughts are Ty Johnson, Corey Davis. I think we're going to start this with what we're going to see. That's what I'm thinking too. First pass to Davis, run by Johnson. Yep. That's David Ognev. Scott Visco says Tevin Coleman. Ooh, interesting. That's an interesting one, right? Just break it out with the vet. Let's get the game started with some experience. Corey Davis, Tevin Coleman. Let's put it in some hands that have played in the NFL before. John Amorello says Tevin Coleman, and he's got to say Corey Davis. So that's 2 in a row for Tevin Coleman. And I'll be honest, I wasn't thinking him. I really wasn't. I wasn't thinking Tevin Coleman, but it makes some sense. Rusty Spooner, my friend, says Wesco and Ty with the run.
That's an interesting. I could see that, like in the preseason. I could see him blocking a little, bouncing out and catching a pass. Yeah.
Well, did you see that play, that one really nice pass and reception to Wesco was beautiful, man. It wasn't just a pass and a catch. What Wesco did, he came from the fullback and he was blocking a linebacker effectively. So he made the linebacker, and the running back came behind him to Wesco's left. So he was blocking the linebacker. The linebacker tried to get around Wesco's left, but Wesco's route was to the right. So he made him think, I'm trying to get you over here. The linebacker fought to go the wrong way, and Wesco was wide open. It was a perfect play. The design, the implementation of it, the effectiveness of it. Dude, I think Wesco is going to be our secret weapon. I really do, man. I think he's going to be legit this year. So it's going
to be great because he's going to force some things, right? If they start running that play and you can't stop it, then all of a sudden you have to have another guy coming in, and that's going to open up a space on the field for a Corey Davis or Croft or Elijah Moore to hit that empty space, because now you're bringing a guy up, because it's like he's blocking somebody, he's bouncing off. Now you have to use another defender to come to stop this 7 to 8 yard machine that just gets us 7 to 8 yards each time.
That's right.
It creates problems because now it opens up holes.
The more guys you have to defend, that's why when you have guys out there, like, look, with all due respect to Robbie Anderson, when he's not getting the ball, he plays differently. So when he's like supposed to block or something like that, you can see it. He has tells, like you can see it. He doesn't play as hard. It's a whole weird thing. When you have guys that you sincerely don't know if they're going to get the ball, if they're blocking, they could be running it like Elijah Moore. He can get the ball, he could be handed the ball. He could be out a slot and the edge. Having those types of versatile pieces moving around all over the place, the defense has to account for that. And just like you said, it causes problems. It causes matchup nightmares. And the more guys they have to account for, the more effective your offense is going to be. And that's what we're seeing, man. I'm excited.
Yeah,
Hank
me too.
G, surprise everyone and go to a tight end. Yeah, a little Tyler Croft action, right? I no issue. No issue. I like it. Vervain says first passes to Michael Carter in the backfield. So a screen type of a thing, maybe. Flare them out a little bit, let them rush in, let them think they're going to beat our offensive line. But little do they know they just left Becton and AVT to run at their linebackers. Oh, somebody's in trouble out there.
I actually predicted that could be their first touchdown. Like I was thinking, someone said, who's going to get the first touchdown? I said, I could see them at like the 18-yard line. And they do this little kind of crazy side little screen pass to Carter, and he, squeezes through and then explodes down the sideline for a touchdown or something. Like I could see that kind of happening.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Let's see here. Let me go back. Third down and Chris Bradigan wants to know if we're doing it every Saturday. Yeah, for now. I mean, this is the plan is to do this at 10 a.m. Eastern time every Saturday. Wherever that is, where you are, just plan accordingly. But it's going to be 10 a.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. or 7 a.m. Pacific time. I think it's 3 p.m. in Europe, right? So wherever you are, or at least in England, in UK, we're going to do this every Saturday, and we'll see how it goes. If we're doing it and 4 people are watching, then I'll admit I'll probably stop. But we've had up to 100 here today. We're floating at 78 right now. We've been in the 80s consistently, so I think this is a great time, man. I think it's good. And the more people we can let know in Europe that we've extended this little token of love to them. That would be cool too. I wanted to get some Germany guys on, and I think we're going to invite some guys on with us too, from the different clubs, the Jetsfan clubs. I know there's a UK Jetsfan, there's a Germany Jetsfans, so we'll get all those guys on as well. As long as we can speak the same language, we're going to be okay.
Yeah, I want to get them on. I want to learn how they became Jet fans and what it's like to be a Jet fan living in Germany, or what it's like being a Jet fan living in Ireland. And
I'm so curious.
Where do they go on game day, and where do they, are there bars where they gather, and like just learning all about that and how that looks and works.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm psyched. I'm legitimately curious. Like, number one, how does it happen? Number two, what is it like over? How do you, I don't know. I'm curious as to the thought process. I mean, shit, I lived in New Jersey. I lived 15 minutes from the stadium, for 30 years. So, for me, it made sense. But anyway, I'm very curious as to how that happens. Angel says the Jets are going to take the field. Then the Undertaker's theme will come on and Frank Gore comes running out of the tunnel. I liked it up until the Frank Gore part. The Jets take the field, the Undertaker comes out, you know what I mean, and the coffin's open and the Jets come out. That'd be great.
I mean, I'd rather be that, like, next year they do that, they play the Undertaker music, like they have the Jets come out of the tunnel in 22, except for one player. The Undertaker theme comes and Carl Lawson comes jogging out.
I'm healed already.
That would be intense.
God. Yeah. Imagine that. Oh my God. I'd lose my mind if something like that happened. So Phil says he's got to go. He had some visitors and he thanks us for the first Jets Worldwide show. Respect. See you all for the game tomorrow. Yeah. Thank you, Phil. You were a major part of this, my friend, as I think you're aware. And we're glad you were here. Enjoy the day with your visitors, whatever they might be doing there. Maybe a barbecue, maybe something like that. Maybe some pints at the pub. I don't know. It's funny. When I went to London years back, and the first thing I did when I got off flew into the airport and we went into town or whatever. And the first thing I did was I found a pub. I went in there. I got a pint. Then I went and got fish and chips. I was there for 5 days. I ate nothing but fish and chips. I had one shepherd's pie. And I don't even like fish. That's the funny part about it. I don't. But I ate fish and chips for every meal for 5 days. That's what I did. And
that's funny. We went to Ireland for our honeymoon. We landed in Dublin, and it was the red eye, right? So we get there, and we nap for a couple hours. Now it's like 11 a.m., and we're in the middle of downtown, right? We're right in the heart of Dublin, and we walk, and we go into the first pub we see, and they got this big screen set up, and they're setting stuff up. Me and my wife just wanted to get our first Guinness in Ireland. So we sit at the bar, get our Guinness. And a couple of people said, big fans, huh? You're here early to get your spot. We're like, what are you talking about? And it's this championship rugby game, like Leicester versus Leicester. And one of the teams is like from England, and it's like the local Dublin team, or one of the more local teams to them. And it's a championship rugby game. And we spent the next 2.5 hours, 3 hours. The bar got packed, and we're sitting at the bar, and everyone's teaching us about the game, who the players are. And it was one of the most intense, incredible experiences. Like, we still talk about it. Like, we're talking about it now. It's great.
Yeah, that's like a nice chunk of happenstance. You know, that's it's fantastic. You're like, I had no idea, but look at us. Lucky us. There's some guy somewhere struggling to get out of the house to get that spot that you just happened on. You know what I mean? So let's do a couple more of these, and then we're going to wrap this one up, I think. Davis on a comeback, and Wilson puts it on a rope for a touchdown from David. I like that idea. Jets by Jimmy. First touchdown is a back shoulder fade to Mims in the red zone. I know I'm really hoping to see Mims get involved. Let's see. Nobody
has predicted that the defense gets the first touchdown. Nobody has said like an Eccles pick or CJ Mosley.
Well, I think I think the way I set it up was who we going to hand it to, who we going to throw.
Right.
I think they would have had to be some departure from the original question to do that. So
that's true. That's true.
In their defense. Ant Jet says we'll be well over 100 once the season starts. I agree. And John Amarello is asking if we're streaming tomorrow. Yes, I have to adjust the time. I'll be on Jetnation YouTube page tomorrow for every game of the year, except for week 2 because I'll be at the game. But so yeah, we'll be there at 12:45 a.m. I think I put it in there for 12:45 p.m. I got to go fix that. But yep, I'll be on Jetnation as I did every game last year, and we will do it every game this year for a watch party. And I won't be showing the stream again. I got in a lot of trouble from YouTube that day when I'm like, fuck it, let's just watch it. And then they were like, nope. So yeah, but that's what we'll be doing. So hopefully I could see a lot of you guys there. It'll be great. That'll be awesome.
And by the way, a lot of people yesterday on last night's show with Frankie, I told everyone tomorrow it'll be a different Jeremy because I'll be completely shaved. Everything will be shaved. John Post was in the comment section saying you're not shaved. So I just want to explain what happened and how fast of a turnover this is. After that show, my wife, because you remember we still have obligations to other people. Like right now, GreenBean's going to get yelled at, right? When he goes back outside, like, where were you this morning? But my wife was like, remember, she had a big workout on Peloton early this morning. So I didn't get yelled at for waking her up, but she needs her Gatorade. So I had to run last night and go on this errand and do these different things. And by the time it was time to go to bed, I had to go to sleep because I have to wake up for this show, which was 7 a.m. And then, so that's my explanation of why I didn't shave, because I didn't have that time because of family obligations. So yeah, next time I'll be completely clean shaved. I promise.
So yeah, well, I know you were. I was bracing for a nice clean shaven Jeremy, but we just learned why that didn't happen. John from New York Jets today is here. What's up, John? Good to see you, man. He says the first touchdown is to Corey Davis. Yeah, I can totally. I think Corey Davis is going to be. He's going to be a major focal point in this offense. If you guys aren't familiar with New York Jets today, great channel. Does live stream on Wednesday among some other great things, but you can go over there and make sure you check him out and give him a sub as well. Yeah, man, it's nice to see. We got a lot of guys here. Don't forget about Jets by Jimmy as well. I don't know, that's not having to do with it, but Jets by Jimmy's weapons hot. And the Jets by Jimmy show. We got lots of content creators in here today. And as I mentioned earlier, John Post with Adrenaline Sports TV. I think his inaugural live stream was what was it, Thursday? What's
I gotta check. I gotta check it out. I gotta check it out and stuff. Yeah,
it was good. John Postman is he looks natural, so it's good. So yeah, man. So Woody in Connecticut says Lawson is the Chuck Norris of football. I saw a comment from, I think it was Jets by Jimmy. He said, I see Lofton yelling at his Achilles to heal. And that, something like that, but that's funny. Yoshi says, we're going to see a Quinn Williams strip sack. Foley runs it in for a touchdown. Dude,
I love it.
Let me say this. I'm just going to give you guys it's not a prediction. It's my desire for the team. My desire is that we sack Sam Darnold 5 times, 2 fumbles, 2 picks. That's what I want to see. I don't want any questions about anything. anymore. And Sam Darnold can have a great career after that. I don't care. I know Jets fans are saying, I wish the best for Sam. That's all great. You can do that. Me, I don't do that. I don't roll that way. The Jets traded him. I'm not rooting for his life to be bad or anything, but as far as NFL football is concerned, I want the New York Jets to be right. I want the move to be smart. I want it to be the best move we ever made, and I want Sam Darnold to have face masks filled with mud. That's what I want. I want to be chasing him all day. I want him to throw the ball into the waiting hands of our defensive backs. That's what I want tomorrow. 5 sacks, 2 fumbles, 2 picks. That's what I want to see from our defense. I want it to not even get to our defensive backs. I want it all D-line. I want Christian McCaffrey stuck behind there trying to block people and all that kind of stuff. That's what I want to see tomorrow. And I'm going to pray to my God of my understanding tonight to make sure that happens. I'm going to put it in. I'm going to put it out there. That's it. So, all right, guys, but I think we're going to wrap this one up. Jeremy, you have anything in closing?
Yeah, I was going to suggest, I don't know, you don't have to do it. I don't want to put you on the spot, but since we have everybody here now and we lost the audio before, if you wanted to end the show by playing that video, that 9/11 video, maybe that'd be just a great way to end it. You know,
that's a fantastic idea. So, guys, again, we started the show with a little mention of the 20th anniversary of September 11th, the 9/11 tragedy in New York City and Pennsylvania and Washington. So the Jets happened to put together a short little video narrated by Joe Namath. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on again because I messed up the stream, the audio before. Let me just get this set up for you guys. All right, hold on. And then we'll come back and say goodbye, but we'll end the show with this. Hold on a second. Whoops. All right, how we doing? All right, let me just make it bigger. Lots of clicks, extra errant clicks. Okay, guys, enjoy.
20 years ago, our world changed forever. A sunny morning became one of our darkest days. When there was nothing we could say, we did all we could to search for answers and meaning, to somehow find our way. It was in these moments that we realized the power of our own strength, and together, the strength of our collective power.
Fans here echoing the spirit on this NFL Sunday.
This one has a chance. Home run might be answered.
2 decades later, we see a city that defines perseverance, rebuilt through courage, resolve, and triumph. Today and forever, we remember those who can't be here with us and honor those who protect us. And as we look ahead, we will always hold these stories and these memories in our hearts and in our minds, and vow to never, ever forget.
I'll tell you, man, that was well done. You know, and the Jets media department, I'll tell you, man, those guys are doing some real good stuff these days. But anyway, guys, I hope that you do something today to just remember what happened that day. Love your family. Give everybody maybe an extra hug or an extra kiss, and just be present today. It's an important one. And I thank you guys for being here. I thank you, Jeremy. I thank everybody from Europe who was here. I think we only had a handful, but that's okay. We'll get it going. We'll let them know, and we'll move this forward. Guys, we have a big game tomorrow. Jets Panthers week 1. We are 1 day away. I will see most of you tomorrow. Jeremy, you want to say anything before I wrap this up?
Yeah, I want to thank everyone who participated. I hope we get more and more people from across the pond, and that's the purpose. And also, but I love the fact that we have our Jets fam here from New York and all over the country as well. And hey, I'll be back on tomorrow night after the game with Frankie for an hour before New York Jets today. And I'll be in the chat room for GreenBean on Jetnation tomorrow. So I look forward to chatting with everybody there. But thank you, GreenBean, for letting me do this show with you. And I look forward to do it every week. It's really exciting. I really love doing it.
Right on, man. And thank you, Jeremy. And thanks everybody in the chat. Go Jets. We'll see you tomorrow.